I'm super conscious of everyone's time. I know that everyone is busy. It's a Saturday. I know Coach Ackerman must have had a very, very busy week at work, and I'm sure Rin, you did as well. Sure, there's a lot going on, especially with conference finals and all that fun stuff happening. Rin, you're back in Australia now, which is great. I'm going to get some of your experience today as well, which would be good. I'm just going to take my camera off so you're able to see me. Hopefully you guys can see me. There I am. Awesome. So one and all, really, really appreciate you guys jumping on the call. Obviously, we're a little bit apologetic that, our amazing Coach Ackerman couldn't get down to Australia. I'm sure she was kind of a little bit gutted by it too, for sure. Yeah, she's nodding, big nod from Coach Ackerman. These things happen, right? There's a lot of, people kind of look at the pro game and they see coaches come and go, no different in the college game. And so, it's sad to hear that a very dear friend of mine in Coach Mike Dabini had to step down, built such an amazing program there at K-State over the last 9 years or so. And I still remember when he actually kicked off the program. That's how far we're going back in time. It's amazing, right? But yeah, look, I'm just really, really stoked to have Jaycie and Corrine on the call today. Today's really all about all you amazing humans that just jumped on. It really is all about you, and you guys are asking questions of coaches and players in the collegiate system who run the full circle of it, right? So as players, but then going into coaching roles, obviously Corrine will talk about her time in the system as well, and discuss a little bit more about what she's up to today post her time in the system. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to keep it really short. I don't want to kill you with PowerPoint's presentation today. So I'm going to try to keep it really, really short with an introduction on Upper 90. But then we'll also get straight to the good stuff, the Q&A with Coach Ackerman and Corrine Denton. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview. Can everyone see the presentation up there? I can see a few of you guys, a few faces there. So people are giving me a nod. That's great. All right, so a little bit about Upper 90. For those of you that haven't had a chance to go to the website or visit us on socials or otherwise, I'm the founder of the company, and we've been running the company now for over 15 years. So it's been a long, long journey and a long time in the college soccer recruiting game for sure. We've really worked hard to make sure that we have great partnerships on the ground in Australia and different parts of the world. Been very, very grateful over the last 24 months to strike partnerships with top clubs in our top leagues, like the Central Coast Mariners. We work with their academy infrastructure very closely. And basically, the way that we work with Mariners is that the players that are coming out of academy and that might be considering a new pathway, then they are introduced to Upper 90, and we work with them and their families to open up this window of opportunity to look into the college system. So we're very excited to have that kind of partnership. We also partner with third parties like Cedar Group, which are a educational / sports education provider. We're very fortunate to have relationships with third parties like that. But over the last 15 years, built a very, very strong network of both organisations that have an educational slant like Cedar, but also clubs right across Australia. And they act like our scouting network, okay? So they do a really great job of sending through players for us to be able to assess for this pathway, much like the Sutherland Strikers relationship, which we just formed this year. So it's great to have that kind of relationship. In terms of our client base is global. So we truly have a global client base. So clients from all around the world who have entered into the college soccer system. Part of my 15 years and part of this journey has been not only recruiting kids locally, but actually traveling all throughout Asia, all throughout Europe, working with both clubs, academies, and also with international schools, and that's where we source a lot of our clients originally all those years ago, but nothing's really changed. We still have great relationships all around the world, and we have a bunch of kids that we send through every year from different parts of the world, mostly from Australia, but different parts of the world as well. I'm very proud of our network. So obviously Jaycie is a part of that, and the K-State family, but the way I built my network was not by, anyone can sit here for the next couple of months and just fire off emails and hope for the best. Typically, it doesn't work that way. It really is about being able to connect with coaches, really understand their program and what they're about and what they're looking for year upon year in terms of their recruiting requirements. So I spent a lot of time traveling back and forth to the US, north, south, east, and west, right across many parts of the US. I've been very, very blessed over the years to have also attended a lot of the graduations of our clients. Unfortunately, I couldn't get down to Rin's graduation. That would have been amazing. But wherever I get a chance, when I'm over there for business, meeting up with coaches, I hopefully get an opportunity to go out and see clients in different regions and see how they're doing, and hopefully see them graduate. So my network is a very personal network, and I guess it looks like a large network, 780 men's and women's college soccer programs. Does that mean I've, seen every single one of those coaches? No. A lot of them are referred to me as well. So there's a lot of new coaches in the mix that we're building relationships with at any one point in time. But it is a very strong network right across every layer of the system, from NCAA to the NAIA, which are the two major governing bodies of 4-year intercollegiate athletics, and also the NJCAA, which is the junior college system. Okay, so many abbreviations in the US system, huh? Yeah, yep. I saw Jaycie nod ahead there. That's a bit of an outdated number in terms of the scholarships. I need to update that. But I think we're very close to around about $50 million worth of scholarships that have been divvied up over the last decade or so. And very, very proud of that. I think the scholarship is one part of this kind of puzzle, but, it costs money to go into a university setting or a college setting, and we're just fortunate that we're able to provide both athletic scholarship opportunities through the relationships that we build with the coaches in our network, but more so just really, really blessed to be able to help reduce a lot of the cost burdens that are inherent in going to school here locally. A lot of people kind of tap me on the shoulder and say, well, I'm not going to have to pay anything up front to go to an Australian university. And I say, well, that's good, but someone's going to tap you on the shoulder down the line and they're going to ask you for that money back. And unfortunately, over the last year or two, we've seen a massive increase in over 7%, which is a significant increase in the cost of attending university here locally. And the amount of debt is roughly around about the $40,000 a year mark on average. And what we find from this data is that it takes roughly around about 9 years on average to pay that off. It's dependent on what you're actually studying. So there's a very unique opportunity for each and every one of you and your families to actually subsidize a lot of your costs up front and ongoing through athletic and academic scholarship in the college soccer system. So definitely things to think about. So this is something that I'm truly proud of. I think that it takes a very structured, thought out, and hands-on approach to make sure that we work with our clients and uncover opportunities for them and their families, and find ultimately the right fit for them. We've got two kind of very interesting layers of the system in Jaycie and then obviously Corrine, and very, very different experiences in the system. One playing within the highest levels of NCAA Division 1, and obviously playing with Corrine playing in very, very competitive Division 2 landscape. But we've been very blessed over the years to have actually, I'd say, given the fact that we've had the ability to find the right fit for our clients, have 4 of our clients over the last 15 years become national champions. Obviously, as you can see, their mugshots are gentlemen, right? They're boys, but I'm really, really, fingers crossed, I've got good vibes. I don't know, something's happening in the water. So I think this season and beyond, we're going to have some really exceptional student athletes coming through the process that I've just got a really good vibe, that might become national champions in their own right across all the governing bodies that we send them out through to. So fingers crossed on that. I really want to see more and more girls take up this opportunity. And I'm going to leave a kind of a statistic for you so you guys understand before we jump on with Coach Ackerman. I'm going to introduce her in a minute. The statistics show that, and you've got to really be clear about this. I want you guys to really be understanding of it. So in the NCAA alone, they run, they provide data around the whole landscape, NCAA Division 1, Division 2, Division 3. And there's a lot of people, a lot of student athletes typically that say, well, you know what, my ultimate goal is potentially to go pro. I'm sure Coach Ackerman will talk about how hard that can be in a moment. And the real statistics show that it's less than 1%. Okay, less than 1% of student athletes end up going down that pro pathway. I believe it's 1.4% for men and about 1% on the women's side, from the last statistics that I saw. So ultimately, this pathway gives you the best of both worlds and integrated into a very unique system that you will not find anywhere else, right? And that is both your academics and your athletics, okay? And the academic component is really, really important, right? So what I mean by that is all well and good that you have aspirations to play at a really good standard. Absolutely, shoot for the stars. But at the same time too, this is a pathway that will give you that educational opportunity. And I see that probably a good 99% of our clients lean into that opportunity wholeheartedly, right? Because as Coach Ackerman might relay, the life and longevity of a college soccer athlete can be quite short. Not college soccer athlete, a professional athlete can be quite short. And statistics show on average that if you're lucky, you might have on average 4 years in the league, whichever league you're playing in. And if you ever got that chance, at best it's 2 years. So what else? What do you have to fall back on? education. Okay. And that's what we pride ourselves on here with the pathway that we provide. And I'm really, really, I'm fortunate to have been able to provide that pathway for over 15 years. So without further ado, I'm not going to rattle off any longer. I'm going to introduce none other than Coach Jaycie. You're going to let us know, do you like Johnson or do you like Ackerman?
I prefer Johnson, but
okay.
I am married. I did take my husband's last name, but all throughout my entire career, everybody knew me as Johnson.
Okay, cool, beautiful. All right, well, we're going to introduce. I'm going to say Coach Johnson now, right? In a moment. Just a little bit about me as well at a high level, right? I wear two hats. Obviously, one is a college soccer recruiter, but what you have to understand is I've been a coach right up to the elite levels of the game here locally for over 20 years. In actual fact, this morning I was just training some clients privately for 2 hours, working up a sweat, getting them ready for preseason. But played across the national soccer leagues back in the day before it transitioned into the A-League. Spent a lot of time in Europe as a young guy trying to get that elusive pro contract. And as a coach, right across the Premier League, right up to the A-League. And I've been very fortunate over the years to have been able to develop players who have gone on to represent either A-League franchises as first-grade players and or their junior youth national teams, and obviously players who have gone into the college system as well. So that's a little bit about me and my footballing background. And again, without further ado, Jaycie, we're going to scrap that, Ackerman, Johnson. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you for having me. I'm heartbroken that I was not able to come down and be able to be at the camp and run some sessions and be there in person. But I guess I'll take this as a second choice.
It's a decent second choice to have you on, at least virtually. It would have been amazing to have you here, but I know that we're going to be planning other camps and otherwise throughout the next year and beyond, and hopefully all the wonderful people that have jumped on here on the call this Saturday will get a chance to meet you in the next 12 months and beyond. But yeah, look, I think it'd be great for you to be able to just give a rundown, talk about yourself, a little bit more about your time, both as a player collegiately, transition into the professional game, and now in the coaching ranks. And mind you, one and all, what we're going to do is do the introductions for Jaycie and for Ren. And then after that, I'm going to get you guys to fill some questions, okay? And we're going to take those questions and get Ren and Jaycie to answer those for you. So I'm hoping, like I mentioned in the emails during the week, that you guys jotted down a whole bunch of different questions so you can ask on this call. So without further ado, I'm going to take a step back. Coach Johnson, let's go.
Hello, everybody. I'm again so sad I'm not there in person to be able to work with you on the field and then talk with you outside of the field. Just a little bit about myself. I am from Kansas City, Missouri. So it's like smack dab middle of America. It's in the Midwest. I ended up doing my college career at the University of Nebraska. Also stayed very close to home. It's in the Midwest. My time there, I won 2 Big Ten championships. We played in the Big Ten, so that's one of the Power 4 conferences, and the NCAA NCAA 1 Division 1. So we won 2 Big Ten championships. I got to play in the NCAA tournament 2 out of my 4 years in college. One of the years I ended up having a knee injury, so I was not able to play that season. I was an All-American there. I was a captain 3 out of my 4 years there. So sophomore, junior, and my senior year, I was a captain of my team. Throughout my college career, I also got called into the U.S. National team system, to where I got called into the U20 national team camp and was supposed to go to the U20 World Cup with them, but I unfortunately sustained an injury 2 weeks before we were about to take off. So I had to sit that one out. And then I've been in with the U23 national team, and I've won 3 different championships and trophies with the U23 national team. After my career at Nebraska ended, I thankfully got to play in the NWSL, the National Women's Soccer League here in America. I spent 6 years in the league. I played for 3 different teams. Within those 3 different teams, I won an NWSL championship. I made it to the finals 1 other time, and then made it to the semifinals 2 other times. So out of my 6 years in the league, I made it into the semifinals or finals 4 out of the 6 years. I am a forward at heart. Throughout my professional career, I did get transitioned into playing outside back, which for all you defenders out there, I gave you mad props when I had to go play defense, got humbled very quickly. But I enjoyed my time as a player. I unfortunately had to retire before I was ready to retire. I have sustained knee injuries. I've torn my ACL 3 times, and then I've had 2 other knee surgeries, all on my right knee. So it was kind of time to figure out my second plan after being a professional athlete and playing. And coaching was something I was very passionate about. I was not ready to retire, and I still wanted to be connected to the game of soccer. So I went down the coaching avenue, and I started coaching at the Division I level. I originally was at the University of Kansas. I got to spend a year there, and then I took the leap of faith and came to the dark side, as everyone would tell me, to Kansas State University. We're big rivals. And now I'm coaching here. I am now the interim head coach of Kansas State until we have a new head coach put in place. Kind of the transition from being a player into the coaching style was really easy for me, because I still got to jump in and practice and play with the girls and kind of be a practice player, but on top of that, having a coaching hat. So I was able to help our girls individually throughout moments in practice. I do a lot of individuals. I am ahead of our individual development here at Kansas State. So I work with all of our girls very individually with film, techniques, doing one-on-one sessions with them, working on certain things and aspects of their games that they want to continue to grow. That's something that I was very passionate about as a player, the individual side, because that's the one thing you can control is your fitness levels, your technique, and just your comfortability on the ball. So that was something I really honed in as a player. And then that's now something I've carried over as a coach. And thankfully, a lot of the girls on my team right now share that same passion of wanting to individually grow, so the team can continue to grow. So that's one thing that I'm very passionate about, is breaking down film and working with you individually with whatever tactics and skills that you would like to improve on. But yeah, that's just a little bit about me.
That is so cool, and obviously super exciting. And just for all you girls on the call, the opportunity to go down to the very, very top flight of college soccer, and in particular, Jaycie was mentioning there in the Power 4 conference. I want to kind of compartmentalize this for you, right? In the NCAA alone, 3 divisions. NCAA Division 1, 2, and 3. The biggest differentiator from one division to the next, people typically think overarchingly that Division 1 is the top flight. I will say that in the Power 4 conferences in Division 1, I will probably say that they would be the best across the whole system. So again, kudos to Jaycie at the level that she and the standard that she played at collegiately. But then you can compartmentalize even Division 1. So you'll hear things like, you just mentioned, Power 4 conference teams. Then you got your mid-majors, so medium-sized schools. And then you have your smaller Division 1 schools. Okay. And guys, just mind you, make sure that we have our microphones off during the call. So just to give you clarity there, just in Division 1 alone, there are hundreds of teams. It's a very large system. But I want to put something in your minds so you're really clear. Corrine's going to introduce herself in a minute, and she'll talk about her experience as an NCAA Division 2 student athlete. A lot of people from the outside in, when they're looking at the system, tend to lean towards, well, you know what, I flick on ESPN and I'm seeing UCLA and I'm seeing Stanford, basketball, football, etc. play. So that is the level that I want to aspire to play to, right? And while that's very admirable, you've just heard Jaycie's background. Okay, she was an elite college soccer athlete. She had the potential to represent and was selected to represent the national teams, the US on the women's side. And then she went out into the pros. Okay, you have to start compartmentalizing that in your mind, right? The caliber of player that coaches are looking for in these Power 4 type conferences, they have to be a very, very strong standard leading up in the recruiting cycle before they get selected, and or even if they get looked at by big brand name Division 1 teams. So the beauty of this system is, and Corrine's kind of going to give her thoughts about it. In Division 2 and Division 3, don't think for a second that the top flight, so the nationally ranked type teams, are slouches in any way, shape or form in terms of the level of the competition. Okay. Perennially, you will see in the off season, so this college spring season, which kicks off in around about January, right? Post your regular season, you might be a Division 2 team, but you play a Division 1 team down the road. You might be a Division 2 team, but you play an NWSL or ECNL academy down the road, right? And what that means is that, and what you'll see as well is some of these D2 programs, especially the nationally ranked ones, and even Division 3 teams, can go toe to toe, if not beat many Division 1 teams. I want you guys to really think that through. And what that means is it always comes down to fit. That's the most important thing for me in this recruiting cycle, that you find the right fit college soccer program. All right. And that could be a Division 3 school because you're extremely academic, but you still want to play a really good competitive level of footy. Or you want the balance between athletics and academics, and Division 2 is touted to give you the best of both worlds. But to be a Division 1 athlete, you got to be, look, the academics is stand out, absolutely, no doubt, you know. Coach went to University of Nebraska, it's a phenomenal school. But outside of that, you're truly the athletic side. It is a pretty full-on experience, okay? But irrespective of where you are in the landscape, I'm just talking about NCAA. We haven't even touched on NAIA, which is another very relevant governing body of 4-year intercollegiate athletics. The schools typically within that realm are the size of Division 2 programs, for the most part. But NAIA programs at the top flight, again, can go up against any NCAA team, and you're still going to get really good quality education. And then, you know, if you need a little bit of time to develop, athletically in particular, and or you are looking for another pathway into the system, a great lower cost entry point into the system, which will give you playing time and act as a platform for you to be able to be recruited by 4-year schools, is the junior college system. Okay, so you go 2 years to a junior college. If you really kick it out of the park, then 4-year schools are collaborating and or talking to your 2-year coach, looking for players to come join them. All right, so never ever think for a second that D1 is the be all end all. It isn't. It's amazing if you get that opportunity. Think very broadly in your recruiting process. And I'll leave it at that. Without, again, further ado, we're going to introduce a very, very, very special alumni of mine, Corrine Denton. Corrine, I call her Rin. All her friends, anyone who's close to her calls her Rin. Corrine is one of my champions. You know, truly, yeah, she went through. Look, you know, here's something I'm going to be I'm always very brutal, open, honest, and raw, because I put my coaching hat on most of the time in this recruiting process. This pathway will never be linear for you. It might be linear in the sense that you might get 4 amazing years at your college program. You just heard from Coach, she had an ACL. 3 ACL. I don't know how you did 3, but I mean, I did 1, and that was enough for me. 3 is a lot. But you're going to have ups and downs. Yeah. The beauty of this system, though, is you get a great collective of, I would probably term, and Rin and Jaycie would probably confirm, you get a real good sisterhood around you. People who become your very best friends, and not just after 4 years, but for life, right? And so you get a lot of support there. Funnily enough, and Rin will probably confirm the fact, hey, I'm actually here on the other side of the world, and you can lean into me for support and chat to me at any point in time. That's just, you know, my bread and butter. I always put my coaching hat on, and I'm always up to listening to our clients. But it'll never be linear, okay? And you're going to have ups and downs, right? So you're going to suffer injuries sometime. But it's how you bounce back. Rin is one of those, definitely. You know, she had some bumps in the road, but she always had a passion for her program. And she had a lot of love for the game. And she had a lot of love for her sisters, right? Her sisterhood that she played alongside as well, right? So, so without me, again, rattling off too much, I'm going to introduce you to my legend, Rin Denton. Rin, maybe you want to introduce yourself a little bit and sort of talk a little bit more about your college soccer journey, your experience through the system, and also what you're up to today.
Thanks, John. So yeah, I'm Corrine. I just graduated December of last year, so I've only been out for almost a year now. And I did 4 years at Lincoln Memorial University, which is in Tennessee. So it's a Division II school. We play in the South Atlantic Conference. I kind of like Jaycie. I tore my ACL when I was over there in my junior year, and then I came back in my senior year, managed to play the whole season, and I made third team all conference, which I never thought would happen after coming back from an ACL. So that happened, which was really good. Got lots of opportunities. As John said, we played against Division I schools, Division III, everyone, that sort of stuff. I managed to graduate with an exercise science degree, and I graduated with honours as well, which was a really cool experience. And now I'm just back here. I'm still playing Premier League here with first grade. And then I'm also going back to study next year to get my master's in exercise physiology. So yeah. I loved my experience over there. I think, as John said, with sisters, I still FaceTime all my girls that are over there, like once a week, 2 times a week, they just got knocked out of the tournament, sadly, which means they're out. But yeah, I had a blessing. I lived with those girls on campus for 4 years, and I don't know, they're the closest thing that I have to family over there, that's for sure.
I really appreciate that, Rin. That's great. And, Rin, just so she understands, and maybe you want to probably reiterate a little bit more, Rin, just, your experience in Division 2, and in particular, did you guys ever have that experience of playing Division 1 teams at all during the spring?
Yeah, we played Tennessee Tech a lot. We actually beat them 1 year, which was pretty cool. But yeah, we played Division 1 schools all the time. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. All right. Look, great little introduction. Love that. Are you with Gungahlin this season? Rin?
I actually just signed with Canberra Olympic for next season. Yeah.
I got the wrong jersey on. I'm sorry. I got the wrong profile pic.
No, all
I know
good.
that. Okay, so
Recent.
one of our alumna, one of our legends as well, Ali Cook, is she still with the setup?
Yeah, she is.
That is so cool. I love that. 2 upper 90 alums joining forces, huh?
Yeah.
All right. That's so cool. Awesome. I love it. Thanks to both of you. Phenomenal. Awesome. Great kind of overview of your backgrounds and otherwise. So we've got a bunch of questions. Well done. I had to actually go into the chat and ramp it up a little bit here, right? But there's a few good questions here, and we'll take those. We'll take one from Christina. Thanks for being on, Christina. It's fantastic. Great question here. And you can both answer this, maybe Rin and Jaycie. Maybe we'll start off with Jaycie. But Christina asked, what support is provided to the new girls on arrival? And maybe you want to give some thoughts around that, Jaycie.
Yeah. I can speak upon it as a coach and as a player. Because at Nebraska, we had 4 international players come play for my team when I was there, my 4 years there. As a coach, you will get to see all your lovely coaches' faces upon your arrival. We will make sure one of us will probably pick you up from the airport. If not, one of the girls will pick you up from the airport. When I was in school as a player, we picked up all of our international kids from the airport just because it was less awkward than having your coach come pick you up. But you are with your whole freshman class when you move in and arrive to campus. And for our internationals, they came a little bit later. So like the whole team was already on campus. So it was a really easy kind of transition period to where you just met everybody on your first day and you were able to make those connections. But we make sure that you are taken care of. You get into your living situation that you're going to be in. And then we will take you around campus and just show you where everything is at that you will be using from day to day. Like for us at Kansas State, our practice and our stadium, it's all in one place. So it's called Boozer Family Park. So we would show you Boozer Family Park. That's where your locker room is. Our athletic training is there, along with our boot room, everything that we do, our film room. So everything soccer specific is going to be in one place. So we would take you there, show you that. And then we would take you over to where we do all of our like weightlifting, our speed and agility, all of that. And then we would show you where your study hall and academics area are within athletics. And then for us, we have a training table. So that's where only athletes are able to have access to this, and you get your breakfast and your dinner there. So we would just take you around campus, showing you everything if you were not able to come out on a visit beforehand. And we just did a verbal commitment online or whatever it may have been. But the girls normally take over at one point in time, and they'll take you out to dinner to eat as a team and kind of get you associated with just everybody. So you can kind of start figuring out kind of who fits in with who you like have similar interests and hobbies in. So yeah, as a player and as a coach, a lot of people are very involved because we understand that you are being removed from your comfort zone, from your family and friends, and coming into just a completely different and new kind of aspect of life. So we are very aware of that and try to make it as easy as a transition as possible. We currently have a Aussie on our team right now. She is from Australia, but also has ties to New Zealand. So she's loved her transition here. She hates the weather. She informed me that this morning that it was -1 degrees Fahrenheit. So she was not having that at practice this morning, but she loves everything else about Kansas State and everything we have to offer. But the weather has been the biggest thing for her to adjust to. But you have an army of people. You have so much support staff outside of just the soccer coaches that you have that will make sure that you're taken care of and allow you to transition into your new life and your new home.
That is so cool. Such great and great question there, Christina. Thank you so much for asking. Rin, I'm going to ask you the same question. What kind of support did you get? You don't have to go through the nuts and bolts of it, but I guess from your perspective, what was the kind of support that you got there at Lincoln Memorial?
I think my experience is a little different to most people. So my dad actually came over with me initially, but then when I first got there, my coach actually quit. So I didn't have a coach when I first rocked up. So it was a little bit of a different experience. Like the assistant coach still met me and everything kind of when I got there and stuff, but I didn't have that much experience with the coach. But the girls just made my experience, like as soon as I got there, I knew I'd made the right decision. I walked in a little bit lost, like a headless chook, but as soon as I got there and they realized I was on the soccer team, you got instant friends straight away. They took me in, they took me to Walmart to get all my stuff and bedding and all that fun stuff. And I think one thing for me that I noticed the most is the internationals. Like you just click straight away because you know what it's like. You're all away from home. You're on the same. I was lucky. I think my freshman year there was like 9 or 10 internationals from all around the world, all over Europe, all over the Americas, Australia as well. So I think internationals, you just get that instant bond. But they always, like my best friend, she was like from down the road in Knoxville. Her parents became my like American family. Like after my ACL surgery, my parents couldn't be there, but her parents were there by my bedside. Like you just kind of extend your family. Just so I have an Australian family and I have an American family now. So yeah.
That is so cool. Thanks so much for sharing that. And I love those little stories, right? And again, and you actually just reminded me. I remember Sean is still a very dear friend of mine, the coach. He's a D1 coach now, but he decided to transition into a new role, and these things happen, right? You know, you got to be prepared for that. I think, you know, I'm grateful for the fact that I was very aware of that situation, talking to Sean and with Rin, but kudos to Rin and testament to the environment that she had the support to be able to pull through, because it is hard in those first 6 months. You really got to, you know, you got to take your time to kind of acclimate to the environment, and to have people around you that are there from all around the world that are on the same page as you are to help support you. It is all part of this journey, and it's a special part of it too. It really brings that bond of all the girls and together on a team, which is fantastic. Really good. Great overview, both of you. So Chelsea, this one's for Jaycie. How old were you when you were playing in the national team?
I got my first call up when I was 16. And then it kind of just continued throughout that process to where I got called into the U17 national team camp. And then I got called into the U20s, and then I got called into the U23s. I actually did get one senior call up, but I was not able to attend because I had just retorn my ACL for the second time. But yeah, so I started getting called into camps when I was 16.
And did you have any, I can't recall now, so you had the chance with the first team at all, or did you train with them at all?
I was supposed to go into a camp in December to play 3 friendlies. and they were not aware that I had just re-torn my ACL about maybe 2 weeks before the camp. So that was a really hard moment in my life to be able to have to call Jill Ellis and tell her that I am not able to even walk right now, that I just had surgery a week before. So that was one of like the gut-wrenching parts of my career, unfortunately. So I never actually got called back into a national team camp after all my knee surgeries were obtained and my recoveries.
It can be quite brutal, right? Even at the elite levels of the game, right? Especially on the pro and especially in the national team. But what an amazing experience. But girls, all of you that are on the call, it shows the steps, right? So you've got to be quite special to be able to be selected to represent your national teams at a young age. And obviously, it does help set a context, in particular if you're talking about the collegiate recruiting cycle. Big brand name schools that are in Division 1, the top flights of other divisions and governing bodies tend to lean into the international market to try to find players like that. And they usually do provide really healthy scholarships for that caliber of player as well on the athletic front. So things to think about, right? Obviously not everyone's going to get that chance to play with their national team, but still think about how, as a younger player, and I'm sure maybe Jaycie can and Rin can testify to it, how as a younger player are you working, and how much are you working toward being able to be a younger player who can play up levels as well? Okay, so if you're a younger player and you're now 17 or 16 or 17, but you're already getting some first grade minutes, that's a good sign of where your trajectory is at. But if you're a younger player and can play full first grade minutes, then in very highly competitive college soccer programs, they like to look at those kinds of girls. As if you're a pure freshman with that kind of experience, then on the athletic side, at least, you become quite marketable, right? And that's just my experience in this recruiting cycle. So just think about that. But that's great. Thanks for sharing some insight there, Coach, in regards to the national team call-ups and otherwise. All right, this is a great question, Chelsea. I love this one. What does a normal day look like on campus plus training? So I'm assuming on the student side and on the training and / playing side. So maybe a day in the life kind of rundown, and maybe Jaycie, you can give us your experience, and then Rin, you can do the same.
My experience when I was in college at Nebraska, we would have 8 a.m. film sessions before we would go out to practice. So we would just walk through whatever our prior game was. We used to play Friday and Sundays. Mondays were a mandatory off day. Then Tuesday would roll around. So we would have film review of our Sunday game. So we would go over everything from our Sunday game that our coach wanted us to touch upon going into the week leading up to our next set of games. So that would take 30 to 45 minutes, depending how the Sunday game went. Then we would go out to training. It would be 90 minutes, no more than that, because we had to manage just loads and legs, because our season is a very condensed season to where we play a lot of games in 3 months to where you're playing at least 2 games a week. They've kind of changed it now, but back when I was playing, we played 2 games a week. So a lot of managing of bodies, legs, because you only had 1 day of recovery in between each games. So I would go to practice. We would get done around 10:30, depending on your class schedule, because you can dictate what time your classes are depending on your major that you choose, and kind of what year you are, and if it also offers online classes. For me, I took a lot of online classes. Just that's how my major was. So I didn't have to go to class often. A lot of my classes were just get the work done, get all my online modules and lectures done. So after practice, I would go straight into recovery. So I go to the training room, get into the cold tub. I would cold tub, Normatec, roll out, stretch, whatever it is that I needed to do, deal with any soft tissue injuries. And then I would go to study hall as a freshman at Nebraska and also at K-State. We require our freshman athletes or any transfer athletes. You have to have 4 hours a week of study hall. That can change depending on travel schedules of that week. But if we had home games, you had to complete the 4 hours. You had Monday to Saturday to complete 4 hours of study hall. So I would go straight to study hall, watch all my online modules, get all my homework done. On Tuesdays, we also would have lift. So I kind of forgot about that. So after practice, if you did not have a class conflict, you would go straight to lift. And you would have to do our lifts, which took anywhere between 45 to an hour. So on Tuesdays, you would go straight from practice to lift. And then after lift, I would continue to do just all my recovery stuff to get ready for the week. And then go to study hall hours and then go to dinner with the team. At Nebraska and at K-State, it was mandatory to eat dinner at our training table that we do provide. The dinner hours were between 5 to 7. So you had that window to go eat dinner. So a lot of us would make sure we planned to eat dinner together and enjoy dinner and time outside of soccer and class and academics to just be girls, chat, catch up on everything. And then by the end of the night, go home, back to the dorms, either finish up some homework or just relax and then go to bed. And then that cycle would repeat throughout the entire week of you kind of know what you're doing in practice throughout the entire season. It would get tweaked depending on kind of just the games and who we were playing. But each and every day you kind of had an idea of like Tuesdays were going to be our very heavy day. Wednesdays would be a little bit lighter. Thursdays are match day -1. So it'd just be walkthrough, shape stuff, defensive, structure, attacking, set pieces, whatever it was. And then you have game Friday. Saturday was a recovery day for players who played a certain amount of minutes. Players who don't play a lot of minutes, they would get some small-sided in, and then we get ready for our game on Sunday. So it kind of gets very repetitive throughout the entire season, mainly just because you find a routine that works with your team and your current roster, and you kind of stick with that and continue to adapt throughout the season depending on your opponents or your standings or your situation within your conference and what your travel schedule may look like, depending if you have back-to-back weeks of traveling or if you're home for a good period of time. So it kind of just dictates what your travel schedule is and depending on the days that you played.
That is stupidly full on. But there you go. That's the day in the life of a D1 college soccer athlete. And I'm assuming, I won't ask Corrine, but I know that it was probably a bit similar. Division 2 gives you a little bit more of that balance. I guess probably don't have as much of a loaded schedule in the off season at least, but it's still pretty intense during season. I know, Rin, that you're pressed for a little bit of time. I know you got work on and otherwise. But I'm going to ask you a great question here from Chelsea, who asked, how was the standard different from the NPL in Australia, the National Premier League in Australia, to your time in the US college system? Great question.
That's a real question. Yeah. I think, to be honest, they're quite similar. The biggest thing for me was fitness. Like over there, everyone is fit. Like, you're not fit, you won't play. Like, it sounds brutal as it is. Like, I learned that my freshman year. I didn't come in as fit as I probably should have, and I didn't play the first half of the season because I had to come in fit. So I think fitness, I think technically it's a very similar level, like, especially if you're playing first grade here or getting any minutes. It's very similar, like, technically and stuff, but fitness and the speed of play, it's a lot quicker. You don't have the same time on the ball. Be prepared for someone to come flying at you from every direction. It's a lot more physical and quicker, and just, yeah, that's the biggest difference I notice. But other than that, technically it's the same level. I think here we have great technical players, and over there they do too, especially with all the internationals and stuff. If you come up against any like Spanish players or anything like that, they're very technical, but the biggest difference is just fitness, strength, and speed.
I love that. You're so succinct. She just gets to the point. You asked me the same question, I'll be here for half an hour explaining myself. That's fantastic. But yeah, you do see something that's so great, Rin. Thank you so much. And great question, Chelsea. because what we do here, what I hear from coaches, and I've worked in the NPL on the women's side and on the men's side, and coaches or coaching friends will say, hey, we got this kid who just got back from America, and what I can say straight off the bat, they're stronger, they're physical, and more athletic than most of our players on our squad. Okay, and I always say there's almost like a trickle-down effect of all the legacy sports in the US system with American football, basketball, baseball, or otherwise, strength, power, that kind of conditioning, which isn't necessarily very well entrenched at our level here. Maybe at the elite levels of play, we do get a little bit of that. But for the most part, Australia creates decent technical players. But I think that athleticism is a very, very important part of your growth journey transitioning into the college game. The speed of play, being able to hold off competition physically, they're all hallmarks of the student athlete and the athletic component in particular. But it has so many great benefits for you as you transition back into the system here, if you do, post your time in the system over there. So, Ren, thanks for giving us clarity around that. And again, you let me know if I'm conscious of your time, and I know if you've got to go to work or anything like that, you can jump off, that's fine. Chelsea had 2 questions, and we'll wrap up with these last 2. And if Chelsea, you're coming out with the big time questions here, really good ones here. Coach, so Jaycie, I'm going to ask the question, or Chelsea's asking the question. This is a great question as well. What qualities do you look for in international players?
That's a great question. I think kind of a couple of the biggest qualities, because we know kind of how was touched upon of just the game is played differently. So like the biggest thing is, are you able to develop under the coaching staff that is recruiting you? So are you able to adapt to our playing style, to what we want to do within whatever university that you are looking at? We need to know if you're able to adapt to what we want out of you. Because normally technical ability is not a worry for us, for all of you internationals, because you guys do play the game very differently than America plays it. We are more kind of athletic, speed of play, kind of run right at you. But for us at K-State, we are a possession-based team. So technical ability will be the first thing right off the bat. If you can connect passes, if you're able to just have a high soccer IQ, that's going to be the 2 things that we look for immediately in internationals. And then the next thing is the adaptability of, can you be able to grow into our system then? Are you able to come and fit, kind of like Corrine said, like fitness is a huge thing for us. We do not like to make a lot of subs. We want to leave our players on the field as long as possible. So are you able to have that fitness? And then your speed and agility is going to be another thing, because the game is so fast that you have to keep up with it. Or if you can figure out ways to get around that with your technical ability of like being a midfielder. Our 6 is not the most speedy girl, but she is very technical and clinical on the ball, to where she can move the ball very easily. Of her soccer IQ gets her in the right pockets, in the right positioning, however, whatever it is, to where she can get out of any situation. So those are going to be the 3 main things that we're going to target in an international, because of your technical abilities compared to our American game, because our youth does not develop as well as y'all do. Those are going to be like the 3 main things of your technical, your IQ, and then your adaptability to our system that we do have in place.
That is so well put. That's so good. Yeah, and absolutely. I can imagine that, it's a big transition for, any girl that comes into highly competitive environments like that. But the fact that you've articulated it very clearly around, those 3 kind of key traits that you look towards, it sets a context for a lot of these girls who are aspiring to get into the system about what they really need to think about. Finally, the last question, and then we're going to make this a wrap so you guys can get on with your weekend and Coach can get on with her Friday night. The last question was, and this is another great question. there's been a lot of changes in terms of rosters in the NCAA. Here we go. Yeah, coach is shaking your head. But anyway, the question here is, how big is your playing squad?
So the Division I level, this is going to be subject to change at every single level now, with just there's a lot of things that are going to get passed sometime next spring, summer. We are currently at a 35 woman roster. That's K-State has always been that way. Next fall, we have to transition into a 28 woman roster. We only lost 4 seniors, and we're bringing in 6 2025s, or 6 2025s. So we have to now cut almost 10 of our current roster to then withhold that 28 woman roster. And that is going to be the 28 woman roster at the Division I level. I know that for sure. But the other special thing with that is now we get more scholarships. So we only have 14 right now. That is going to get bumped up to 20 or 22. So now we're going to have more money to offer more full rides to kids and have more opportunities down that avenue, because we have to have less players on our roster. So there's going to be a lot of movement within NCAA at every level, with D2, D3, and even, I think potentially JUCO as well. NAIA is kind of its own ball game, so they're in their own little world over there. But within at least the Division I, 2, and 3 levels, there is going to be a lot of change coming up in the next 6-7 months.
Lots of changes, and I think the biggest question a lot of people are asking, especially for prospects who are looking into the system from Australia, they are asking about how the season kind of pans out. And there's been kind of lots of discussion, a lot of hearsay about, is it going to be a regular September start, if you're lucky, go all the way into December in postseason, into the playoffs and all that kind of stuff? Or are they extending the season out? And I know there's been kind of a committee, at least at a D1 level, talking about that. Is that at all going to transpire, or is it just really hearsay at the minute?
So right now, we actually are getting an earlier start date. But I guess I'll preface, for us, our incoming freshman class, and almost 90% of all D1 colleges do this, you have to come in June. And you take summer classes, so you have a transition period to where you're only taking one class. You get into the routine of having practice and weights and kind of getting just a little more settled, because if you wait until we start preseason now, the 3rd week of July, and our first game is the 2nd week of August. So that would only be 3 weeks of you being in America, trying to transition and going straight into our preseason and then going straight into season. So most colleges at the D1 level have their incoming freshman class come early. For Australia, that might be a different combo, just depending on school and when you graduate. But for most schools in America, they're done in May. They report the 1st week of June, start classes. But now we're reporting a week earlier because they're trying to change the season format to where you play 2 games one weekend and then the next weekend you play 1 game. So it's kind of less volume over time. But the chatter of like separating it into seasons to where we would start later, play half of it in the fall, and then finish out the rest in the spring. They are going to, I think, do a mock trial on the men's side and see how that goes. And then dictating on how that goes on the men's side will dictate if the women's side will follow suit or not, or will stay with a elongated season of going 2-1, 2-1, 2-1.
Wow. There's been a lot of talk, and I've been, again, in the game now for 15 years. I've seen it discussed for so long. So I think there's a benefit to it. A lot of people might not think that in the collegiate game, and a lot of people are saying it might be a little bit of hearsay. But what a great hour we've just had. we finally got there, right? So, you know, Jaycie, we're so grateful that you did take a little bit of time out of your day, and I know how busy it is for you to jump on the call. We did really miss out on having you here, and I'm sure that over the next 12 months or so that we'll get that opportunity again. Fingers crossed. And Rin, you know, we've got nothing but love for you, mate. You're a legend, and you know, everything that I work for, you represent. All your kids do, all my upper 90 alumni. I'm a little bit biased, but you in particular went through a lot of you know, ups and downs, and continued on the path. And I'm really proud of all your achievements. Awesome. All of you who have jumped on this call, amazing questions. Thank you so much. And it shows, and just so you understand, there were 30 people that were registered for camp, right? So a handful of you jumped on your Saturday, knowing how busy it is, and got out here and asked some amazing questions. So really, really grateful for that. What I'm going to leave you guys with is, as next steps, if you are wanting more information about the pathway, I'm here to assist and support you. You got my email address from all the emails that unfortunately I had to spam you with over the last week or two. But you can contact me via that email address, and I'm happy to field a one-to-one video call just like this, and we'll come out and meet with you face-to-face if you're truly interested in the pathway and exploring the opportunities in a little bit more detail. But again, Jaycie, Rin, one and all, thank you so much for being on the call. I hope you all have an amazing evening for Coach, and rest of your day for everyone else. And we're really, really grateful for all your amazing questions. And thanks again, Jaycie and Corrine, for jumping on and sharing your experiences. Have a great day, one and all. Have a good one. Bye.